enter the Predator, Francis Ngannou, the lineal MMA heavyweight champion, former UFC heavyweight champion, who on his boxing debut back in October took on the lineal boxing heavyweight champion in Tyson Fury. And he gave the world, really, a night that they'll never forget. He sent ripples around the world by knocking down Fury in the 3rd round. He still insists that he won that fight. He believes he'll be beating Anthony Joshua on Friday night, and he is some specimen, Andy Clark.
He absolutely is, and when you see him stride into the ring there, for me anyway, he makes that walk to the ring kind of shrouded in this air of mystery still, because off the back of that performance, what we do know is that he's an awful lot better than we thought he would be, but it's still quite difficult to work out exactly how good he is and exactly what he's capable of against Joshua, and that makes it fascinating for us and potentially quite difficult for his opponent, because you never want to underestimate anybody, and I don't think there'll be any chance of that happening after what he did at the end of last October. But also, as Ben Davison said to us yesterday, Joshua's trainer, you also don't want to be overestimating anybody, because that way you can just allow them a route into the fight. You can allow them to grow into the fight. So he's got a lot going for him from a psychological point of view. There's Ben ringside with Lee Wiley, one of the coaching staff who does a lot of great work with their video analysis. And it was interesting talking to them yesterday, talking to Ben yesterday, Johnny, about how they really study tape in a way that other people don't. And it makes a lot of sense, because when you watch somebody fight, whether it's your fighter or the opposition fighter, there are certain things that they will do that are hardwired into them, natural instincts that are very unlikely to change, patterns that you can pick up on.
Habit. You pick up a fight habit, how they talk, how they walk, how they interact with people, how they are, and that's how you study a fighter. Keep watching them, and the fighter yourself. There's habits you might have, but you actually don't realise you've got. This is what Ben was talking about, that Anthony Joshua does. So now we understand his job with Anthony Joshua. His job with Anthony Joshua is that I'm not going to show you anything new. I'm just going to show you what you are doing and what you aren't doing, and then you can figure that out for yourself. This is my assessment of it. So therefore, if Anthony can take that confidence and that belief into this fight, then it should be day and night. Now, looking at Ngannou, I know for a fact when he boxed Fury, yes, and this is not a diss, it's not a disrespect, because he was king of MMA. Brandon always said, if you fight a fight that doesn't know how to fight, I mean, we're talking digital boxing, then the worst was the fight, because you don't know what kind of shot they're going to throw. And Ngannou threw some kind of hatchet shot there.
It's a Superman punch.
But you can get away with that in your sport, not in our sport. You shouldn't be able to anyway. But what I'm saying is, when a man's doing something so unorthodox that you can't prepare for, how do you prepare for him? How do you prepare for a man that actually doesn't have the boxing pedigree? Because you're going to get fighters that go in there that hold their hands up, use the jab, use the right hand, step around correctly. They'll have that unwritten step back conversation and say, oh, we don't know. This man's going to do everything against the rules. So now, this is about, again, I'm quoting Brendan again, schools teach you to remember. He taught us to think. You've got to be able to think in the ring. So Ben Davison will have showed things to Anthony Joshua for him to remember. Anthony Joshua needs to be now in a position to think. If you can think, you can think on your feet, you can adapt. So AJ needs to be able to think when he's in there, think on the job. And if he can think on the job, therefore nothing untoward should happen, because he's thinking on the job. If he goes in like a robot and thinks, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, don't do that, don't do this, he's going to get turned over, because this guy's too unorthodox for our sport. Because how are you going to prepare for somebody like that unless he's going to get other MMA fighters in there with him?
What was interesting was, in the build-up to Ngannou's fight with Tyson Fury, there was a video that went out of Ngannou on the pads, and it got widely panned, and people were saying, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. This guy's got no chance. Fury's going to knock him out immediately. Was he all taking us all a little bit for a fool, Johnny?
No, not at all. I think he is what he is. Even when he said, look, I'm a man. I can punch, I can hurt. I'm not going to be impressed by your pedigree. I don't care. At least beating guys that have been successful in their fields on his way up in his sport, and the success he had with Tyson Fury, you've got to give him credit, like we didn't, and you've got to give Tyson Fury discredit, because he underestimated him. I don't think that would ever happen again. I think Tyson Fury now knows what's in front of him. He'd be in the condition he's in now to fight a guy. That's if they fought again. Don't think it will happen again. What I'm saying with this guy here, we can't sleep on him. We have the gift of hindsight now. We know what he's about. We know that he's cool. He's not going to be intimidated. He's very comfortable in his own skin. So AJ can't be intimidating this guy. He can't be looking at him like, yo, don't do that. I've seen it happen before with AJ Jr. AJ's now in there with a grown man that believes he is going to win. It's not trash talk. It's not American trash talk. He thinks, I want some of this. And he's actually very polite about it. And I think AJ senses that. This is why this fight, there's so much, that big if just keeps knocking me on the back of the head. But I'm interested.
Do you know what's interesting, Andy, is also that the build-up to this fight compared to the fight with Tyson Fury, you think about the press conferences, the name-calling. I can't remember how many times Tyson actually called this man, not the kid on the screen, but the man that you just saw, a sausage, relentlessly. Called him a sausage all the time, was up at the presser, was shouting, was pointing. Big John was there, Mike Tyson was there as well. But the build-up with Anthony Joshua, it's been very, very respectful.
It has been. What was interesting about what we saw from the pair of them back at the end of October was that Fury went full Fury all week, and we expected that. And Ngannou just didn't really react to it. You know, he was too cool for it. He'd seen it all before. But then at the weigh-in, when Tyson tried to loom over him and bear down on him a little bit, he wasn't having any of that. That was the first time we saw that real flame of fire in his eyes. You know, that edge of the real competitor, because he knew at that point, this isn't name calling now. You've taken my physical space here, and that's different. And then we really saw him. That was the first time we really saw him. And this week, yeah, they've not really been saying too much to each other because they don't really know each other. And I think there is definitely that respect there between them. But I think they will have been paying attention to each other, whether they admit it or not, because we have this situation, and we've discussed it, haven't we, which is unusual in that all of a sudden you're in with somebody who you never would have pegged as being a rival, who a year ago, I mean, you'd have laughed if we suggested this was going to happen.
Yeah, well, I laughed when it was suggested for Tyson Fury. I poo-pooed it. We all did. We'll go back to the Tyson Fury and Ngannou fight. Tyson Fury is the best at boxing foreplay. Boxing foreplay is
great term.
Is before you've even got in the ring. He's playing with you. He's getting in your head. He's making you hate him, disrespect him. He wants you to think he's a fool. He's disarming you without you realise you're being disarmed. And so, but unfortunately, it was lost on translation with him. It's lost on translation with Alexander Usyk. So now Tyson Fury has to depend on his boxing skill alone. With this guy here, he wasn't intimidated. And when it came to the physical huffing and puffing, Tyson Fury thought, uh-oh, and probably realised at that point, whoa, this guy's not moving. And you could see in the fight, he thought, all right, that's why I don't think that fight will ever happen again. I think with Anthony Joshua and Ngannou, these two respect each other. Because when you smell fear, when you smell hustle, you call it out. And I've seen Anthony Joshua call it out many, many times. You haven't tried to call this man out. This man hasn't tried to call out Anthony Joshua. It's been respectful. You can have fighters that are respectful to each other. It doesn't have to be throwing tables or getting in each other's face, and still have a good competitive fight. Dan Aziz, Joshua Buatsi, they fought their lives out. Went on holiday after the fight. Yeah. You know, these two guys, I don't think there's anything personal there, but right now it's professional. They've got to be professional, and the best is going to go in there and give their best. He wants to be in a position where he shocks the boxing world. Now I'm rooting for the boxing world, because I don't want some MMA guy coming into our sport in his second fight and really turning it upside down, because what does that say? It either says that, you know what, we've been sleeping on this guy. This guy is the new era coming through to say, I can step into your sport, and it'll be a one-off. And you will be one-off, because I can remember the Klitschko's, they used to stand there when you box an MMA fighter, a mixed martial arts fighter. The guards wide, the stance was square, they're very fit, you can pick them off, you can box them at a certain level. But so this guy has reached now top tier level, and so we've got to see what he's like at top tier level. And if he can get through this, and now he knows what he could have done against Tyson Fury, if it happens again, if he gets through this, we're looking at a problem right there. we're looking at a big problem, and it's going to take a really smooth, cool cookie to get rid of that guy.
He's also not here to mess around at all. I mean, this is that kind of cool, calm, collected customer. Earlier on in the week, we did some social media stuff with him, tried to get him to play a game on the phone and all that. He was like, I'm not playing no game.
No nonsense. He's a man. He's a man. He's not a kid boy. He's a man. He's not here for this nonsense. He's like, I'm here to fight. I look at his relationship with Dewey, his coach. Out of this, they work together. They don't mess about. They're not. He's like, he's a man with responsibilities, and you can tell he's walking like a champion, trying to talk like a champion. All this to be a champion.
Hey, it's because he is a champion. He is the lineal MMA heavyweight champion, and he is lapping it all in, lapping it all up, just like he did back in October, ahead of his fight with Tyson Fury. This time it's Anthony Joshua. You see trainer Dewey Cooper there as well. And hopefully we'll grab a chat with Ngannou. There's always a lot of scrutiny after workouts, particularly Ngannou workouts. So what can we learn from any of that? What did you learn from any of that, Andy?
I mean, he let his hands go there, didn't he? And some of the body work, a little step off to the left-hand side to change the angle, throw the right hand straight down the middle. It's stuff we didn't necessarily see back at the end of October. But what we know now is that we can't really take too much from anything you see from him outside of the ring, because when he gets in there for real, he knows exactly what he's doing. Whilst he was doing that, by the way, I was just having a little look at ringside, and I saw a few youngsters getting their hands wrapped up. So I think Anthony Joshua is probably going to go down a similar route to what we saw him do last time in December, and give them a little bit of a coaching clinic rather than do any serious work himself. But he's enjoying this. Ngannou. Fighters approach fight week in different ways. As we said last time out before Christmas, Joshua was tetchy during fight week. Deontay Wilder used to be, wasn't last time we saw him. It just depends on their personality type as to at what point exactly they make that transition into fight mode, into beast mode. And Ngannou, I think, just enjoys this, soaks it up right until the very last point. Maybe when he's getting his hands wrapped in the dressing room or even on the ring walk. He knows how to do it. He knows when he needs to do it. He knows when's too soon to do it. And that's just a sign of just how experienced he is, basically.